Hello students, good morning. Welcome back to a new video of Sunanda's tutorial. So in this video we will discuss the whole unit 1 of your SSB Botany Lectureship examination syllabus. So without wasting any time, let's start. At first, general characteristic features of algae. So before going to the main topic, we will discuss about the classification of whole plant kingdom. Whole plant kingdom is basically divided into two, that is cryptogams and phanerogams. Cryptogams again divided into thallophyta, bryophyta and pteridophyta. Phanerogams divided into gymnosperms and angiosperms. Under thallophyta, the plants are placed which have thallus like plant body. That means the plant body which cannot be divided into roots, stem and leaves. So under thallophyta, algae and fungi are present. Algae is commonly known as seaweeds. Then father of phycology. What is phycology? Phycology means study of algae. F.E. Frisch is regarded as the father of phycology. Father of modern phycology, William Henry Harvey. Father of algology or phycology in India is M.O.P. Iyengar. So the main plant body of algae is thallus-like habitat, mostly aquatic. It may be freshwater, it may be marine. Non-embryonic. They are non-embryonic as they lack the embryo. True parenchymatous cell present. Size variable. It varies from microscopic to giant kelp. Then unicellular algae are present. Multicellular algae are present. Unicellular chlamydomonas, multicellular volvox. Then chlorophyll pigment, chlorophyceae or green algae have chlorophyll A and B. Phaeophyceae have chlorophyll A, C, fucoxanthin. Rhodophyceae chlorophyll A, D, phycoerythrin. Then as algae have chlorophyll pigments, they are photosynthetic. That means they can perform the process of photosynthesis and prepare its own food. So they are autotrophic in nature. Then reserve food materials. Chlorophyceae have starch. Phaeophyceae have mannitol and laminarin. Rhodophyceae have Floridian starch. And additionally, Cyanophyceae have Cyanophycean starch. Then tissue system is altogether absent. Cell wall structure or composition of cell wall. In case of green algae, it is composed of cellulose. In case of brown algae, cellulose and algin. In case of red algae, cellulose. Then locomotion by means of flagella. In case of chlorophyceae, 2 to 8 numbers of flagella are present, which are equal and apically present. Phaeophyceae, in case of Phaeophyceae or brown algae, 2 unequal and lateral flagella are present. In case of Rhodophyceae or red algae, the flagella are altogether absent. Then classification. The most accepted and most widely used classification of algae was proposed by Frisch in 1935. He classified the whole algae into 11 classes on the basis of the type of pigments they have, nature of their reserve food materials, mode of their reproduction. So what are the 11 classes? Chlorophyceae, Xanthophyceae, Chrysophyceae, Bacillariophyceae, Cryptophyceae, Dinophyceae, Chloromonadini, Euglinini, Phaeophyceae, Rhodophyceae, finally Mixophyceae or Cyanophyceae. Then thallus organization in algae. It may be unicellular or single cell or maybe multicellular, that means more than one cell. Unicellular may be motile, may be non-motile. Motile form like Chlamydomonas, non-motile like Chlorella. Then spiral, Spirogyra, rhizopodial, which lack flagella but show amoeboid movement, as in Chrysa amoeba. Then multicellular form, which have more than one cell. They may be colonial, like your volvox. They may be siphonaceous or cenocytic condition, as seen in Vaucaria, where one cell have more than that means they have more nucleus, many nucleus in one cell. Then they may be filamentous or parenchymatous. So colonial may be cenobial or cenocytic means a multinucleate cell. Multinucleate cell may be motile or non-motile. Sometimes they form a palmella stage, or palmelloid cells are arranged irregularly, as seen in Tetraspora. They may be dendroid, as seen in Chrysodendron species. They may be rhizopodial colonies. This cenobial or colonial form may be motile or non-motile. Some filamentous are branched or unbranched. Branched in case of branched form, they may show false branching, as seen in Cytonema. They may show true branching. They may be unbranched, as seen in Gygnema species, Eulothrix species and Idogonium species. Then ultrastructure of a typical algal cell. Prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. Prokaryotic cell is seen in case of blue-green algae, and except blue-green algae, all other algae possess eukaryotic cell. So at first we will discuss the structure of a prokaryotic cell. They have a cell wall which is made up of mucopeptide. DNA material representing nuclear body consists of fibrils, which may be extended throughout the cell but concentrated at the central part because they lack true nucleus. Then chlorophyll pigments are bound to photosynthetic lamellae or thylakoid. Well organized chloroplast, mitochondria, Golgi body, endoplasmic reticulum are all together absent. Ribosomes are present. Then eukaryotic cell. Eukaryotic cells have nucleus, a distinct nuclear membrane is present, and it has mitotic figures and divides by mitosis. Cytoplasm contains membrane-bound chloroplast, chromatophores, mitochondria, Golgi bodies, endoplasmic reticulum, as well as ribosome. So these are typical structures of eukaryotic cell and prokaryotic cell. Then shapes of chloroplast. So different species of algae show different shapes of chloroplast. At first, Chlamydomonas show cup-shaped chloroplast. Chlorella have parietal, sometimes cup-shaped, sometimes plate-like chloroplast. Spirogyra have ribbon-shaped chloroplast. Gygnema have star-like or stellate chloroplast. Eulothrix have griddle-shaped chloroplast. Idogonium have net-like or reticulate chloroplast. Then pigments. Generally algae possess chlorophylls, carotenoids, phycobilins or billiproteins. Cyanophyceae or blue-green algae have chlorophyll A. Chlorophyll A is the chief pigment or main pigment. Then C. phycocyanin, C. phycoerythrin. Chlorophyceae mainly have chlorophyll A and B. Xanthophyceae mainly have xanthophyll. Phaeophyceae have chlorophyll A, C and fucoxanthin. Rhodophyceae have chlorophyll A, D, phycoerythrin, R phycoerythrin and R phycocyanin. See, observe this. Cyanophyceae have phycocyanin and phycoerythrin. Similarly, Rhodophyceae have phycoerythrin and phycocyanin. But the main difference is Cyanophyceae have their characteristic phycocyanin and characteristic phycoerythrin. Rhodophyceae have their specific phycoerythrin and phycocyanin. Cyanophyceae have C phycocyanin, C phycoerythrin. Actually, Cyanophyceae have more phycocyanin than C phycoerythrin. But Rhodophyceae have R phycoerythrin and R phycocyanin. And Rhodophyceae have more phycoerythrin than R phycocyanin. So remember these points. Then flagella. Algae possess two types of flagella. One is whiplash or the flagella with smooth surface, and secondly tinsel type or pantonematic, the flagella with have hair-like projections or flimmers on the surface of the flagella. Then reproduction. They have vegetative reproduction. They show asexual reproduction. They may reproduce sexually. Under vegetative reproduction, sometimes simple cell division occurs, sometimes the reproduction occur by fragmentation, sometimes a special cell like hormone is present, is formed, and the reproduction takes place by hormone. Then primary and secondary protonema, then through bulbils, through amylum starch, by specialized branch or thalli called propagules. Then asexual form reproduction by zoospores, aplanospores, hypnospores, autospore, endospore, neutral spore, monospore. Formation of daughter colonies as seen in case of Volvox species. Sometimes palmella stage is present as seen in Chlamydomonas. Sometimes Gongosira stage is present as seen in case of Vaucaria. Then sexual reproduction may be isogamous, where two gametes are equal in size morphologically and cytologically both gametes are similar. Heterogamous, when both gametes are unequal. Anisogamy and oogamy, where the female gametes are large and non-motile and male gametes are small and motile. So these are different modes of reproduction. Then economic importance of algae. They mainly produce agar mainly produced by Gelidium, Gracilaria and Gigertina. Remember 3G produces agar. Then alginic acid mainly produced by brown algae, Ascophyllum, Laminaria, Lawsonia, Eclonia, Macrocystis, Eisenia. Then carrageenan is produced by a red algae, Chondrus crispus. Then diatomite, also known as Kesselgur, is obtained by the family Bacillariophyceae. Then iodine is mainly obtained from Laminaria, Eclonia, Fucus and Eisenia. Then glue, which is known as Funori, is extracted from Gliopeltis forcata. Some algae can also be used as fertilizers. Chlorella help to aerate water by removing carbon dioxide or CO2 and restoring supply of oxygen in the process of photosynthesis. Chlorella is known as space algae, used by astronauts as food supplements. Then algae in different parts of different parts of different countries can be used as food. For example, laminarian food forms types called as kombu, alaria called sorumen. Then antibiotic, it can be used as antibiotic. Chlorelin is extracted from chlorella. Carrageenan extract can be used as a blood coagulant. Alginic acid stops bleeding. So these are different types of algae which can be used economically. Then in your syllabus, life cycle of Chlamydomonas is present. So this is the cell structure of Chlamydomonas. Then the reproduction of Chlamydomonas. Chlamydomonas can reproduce asexually, by zoospore formation, aplanospore formation, hypnospore formation, then palmella stage. A specific characteristic feature of Chlamydomonas, it can reproduce sexually by isogamy, anisogamy and oogamy, and by asexual reproduction. What is zoospore formation? Zoospores are actually motile spores. Chlamydomonas multiplies or reproduce asexually by producing zoospores in growing season. The parent cell comes to rest, the flagella are reabsorbed, contractile vacuoles disappear, and the protoplast withdraws from the cell wall. In this quiescent state, cytoplasm, chloroplast and nucleus divide along a longitudinal plane into two daughter protoplasts. Then sometimes these zoospores secrete a thick wall around it and form aplanospore. But in very severe condition, this spore secrete a thick wall around it, and this resting spore is called hypnospore. It often develops a strong red coloration which causes the red snow. Remember this thing. Then what is palmella stage? Under certain condition, under certain unsuitable condition, motile cells comes to rest and lose flagella. They remain clustered together in parent cell and subsequently becomes mucilaginous and swell up considerably. So this type of stage is called as palmella stage. Then sexual reproduction by isogamy. The fusing gametes are similar in size, form, structure. Then homothallic, they may be homothallic or heterothallic species. Homothallic means the fusing gametes or the gametes which are to be fused are biflagellate and comes from the same parent in case of homothallic species. But in case of heterothallic species, the sexual fusion occur between gametes from two different parent cells which belong to same mating type but from different strain, plus strain and minus strain. Remember this. Then anisogamy. Anisogamy where both the fusing gametes are different from each other. They are morphologically different. And oogamy, where female cell is larger, female gamete is larger and male gametes are smaller. Female gametes are non-motile in nature, but male gametes are motile in nature. Then after the fertilization by this method, by following any of this method, Chlamydomonas produce zygote following the fertilization. Then zygospore is formed. Then zygospore undergoes meiosis to form meiozospore, which are again haploid in nature. Then meiozospores germinate to form another Chlamydomonas plant with haploid chromosomes. So it is the whole life cycle of Chlamydomonas. Then the life cycle of Idogonium. Idogonium have some specialities, like it have basal cell or rhizoidal cell or holdfast which attaches to the substratum. Then it possesses the cap cell at the apical or distal end. They have reticulate chloroplast. It is a special net-like chloroplast. Then zoospores of Idogonium possess stepanocont type of flagella. That means flagella which are arranged in a ring-like manner around the anterior end of the reproductive cells, reproductive asexual cells. Then the life cycle. Idogonium reproduce asexually by fragmentation. It is actually a vegetative mode of reproduction. Then zoospore formations, which are motile spores. Then by acinids, these are resting cells in certain species of Idogonium. These are resting cells. Then sexual reproduction in Antheridium by sexual reproduction by Antheridium or male sex organ, and Oogonium or female sex organ. Depending on the distribution of sex organs, the Idogonium species divided into macrandrous species or nonandrous species. Macrandrous species may be monoecious with Antheridia and Oogonia born on the same filament, or they may be dioecious where the Antheridia and Oogonia occur on separate filaments. The nonandrous species are generally dioecious. They show dimorphism. That means Antheridia are produced by a special much reduced dwarf male plant, or Nonandria attach epiphytically to the female filament. So it is basically the life cycle of your Idogonium. It has some specific characteristic features. The life cycle of macrandrous monoecious species, then macrandrous dioecious species, then life cycle of gynandrosporous nonandrous species, then life cycle of idioandrosporous species. So what is gynandrosporous? What is idioandrosporous? So in nonandrous species, sometimes the androsporangia, which produces the peculiar type of motile spores, androspores, generally born in the oogonial filament, and the species known as gynandrosporous. The oogonial filament bearing nonandria called gynandrosporous nonandrous filament, and the species where the androsporangia born in the separate filament is termed as idioandrosporous. In this case, filament bearing androsporangia known as androsporangiate, and the female bearing nonandria is called idioandrosporous nonandrous filament. So it is the difference. Sometimes the androspores are peculiar type of motile spores. These are smaller than zoospores but larger than sperm. Remember this. These are produced within a special type of cell called androsporangia. Androsporangia developed by transverse divisions of any vegetative cell of a large filament. If these androsporangia are born in the oogonial filament or female filament, the species known as gynandrosporous. And oogonial filament bearing nonandria is called gynandrosporous nonandrous filament. Then the species, another kind of species in which androsporangia born on the separate filament known as idioandrosporous, and the filament bearing androsporangia, that separate filament bearing androsporangia known as androsporangiate. The female filament or oogonial filament bearing nonandria called idioandrosporous nonandrous filament. This is very simple thing. Just you have to remember about gynandrosporous nonandrous filament, then androsporangiate, different, idioandrosporous, androsporangiate, which bear different androspore in a different filament. Then that in that oogonium, in that Idogonium, the oogonial filament if bear the nonandrous known as idioandrosporous nonandrous filament. Okay. Then the life cycle of Coleochaetae. Coleochaetae are general freshwater form with exception of Coleochaetae nittelarum, which are endophytic. Endophytic means present inside the body of Nittela. All other grow epiphytically. That means on the body of submerged aquatic plants or algae. Coleochaetae have heterotrichous filament. That means they have a prostrate system and a erect projecting system. Single parietal chloroplast is present. Certain cells bear single sheath bristle. It is a specific characteristic feature of Coleochaetae. They reproduce asexually by zoospores. Sexual reproduction occurs by oogamy. Sex organs are antheridia, produce antherozoids or sperm cells, and carpogonia, which is the female sex organ. They have carpogonia have a basal enlarged portion and a trichogyne. Then the life cycle of Coleochaetae. Coleochaetae asexually reproduce by zoospore formation. Then it can it have antheridium and oogonium or carpogonium, which produces antherozoid and egg. After fertilization, it forms oospore or zygote, which are diploid in nature. Then zygotic meiosis occur to form spermocarp with 32 spores producing mass. Then meiozospores are formed. Then from meiozospores, new Coleochaetae plant will be formed. Okay. So see, in Coleochaetae, the adult plant is haploid in nature and represents the gametophytic phase. It bears highly developed sex organs among all the chlorophyceae. They are antheridia and oogonia. The diploid condition is established in oospore. The single-celled diploid oospore is the only diploid structure of the life cycle of Coleochaetae. Then it undergo meiosis again to form spermocarp with 32 spore producing mass. They produce 32 meiozospores, which upon germination forms again the gametophytic plant. So the Coleochaetae, the life cycle of Coleochaetae is characterized by haploid adult and zygotic meiosis. So the life cycle is haplontic or haplobiontic or haploid in nature. Okay. Then the life cycle of fucus species. It is a cold seawater alga which is found attached to rock along the source. So generally known as the rockweed. Fucus is known as the rockweed. Holdfast or hapteron is the special attaching organ. Above holdfast stripe is present. Apical cell is present. Air bladders is present. Plant cell is diploid. Plant is diploid. Diploid number of chromosome, that is 64 number of chromosome is present in the plant body of fucus. End of branch, each branch is solen. Solen ends are covered with papillae. Each papilla has minute pore called ostiole. This special cavity with minute pore called conceptacles, which contains the sex organs. This fertile solen portion of thallus containing conceptacles is known as the receptacle. Then structure of thallus. The thallus, in the thallus, different types of tissues are arranged, like meristodome or palisade layer, then cortex, then medulla. Then sexual reproduction is oogamous type. Each conceptacle lies in the superficial part of medullary zone of the receptacle. The cavity of conceptacle is lined by compact tissue of 2 to 3 cells in thickness, fertile sheet. From superficial cells of fertile layer arise many long hair like unbranched filaments called paraphyses. So in addition to this paraphyses, some other colorless unbranched hairs arise from the upper portion of the conceptacle known as periphyses. Mature antheridium are oval or club shaped, differentiated into two layers, outer exocyte or inner endocyte layer. They release 64 biflagellate sperms. Biflagellate means bearing two flagella. Each sperms with two unequal flagella inserted laterally, because these are phaeophyceae. Phaeophyceae have unequal flagella which are inserted laterally. Oogonium develops 8 eggs and released externally. So fertilization is external. Meiosis takes place at the time of differentiation of gametes. So zygotic meiosis is absent and diploid zygote undergoes no resting period. Zygote germinate immediately to gives rise to a diploid thallus. So the life cycle of fucus is slightly different from other species of algae. Ficus displays only cytological alternation of generation. There is no morphological alternation of generation. Gametophytic generation is completely suppressed by gametes. The haploid structure is only the gametes. So it is the overall life cycle of fucus. Fucus plant have antheridial conceptacle, eugonial conceptacle. Eugonia and antheridia are the male and female sex organ. Then upon meiosis, eugonia produces egg and antheridia produces sperms. They fertilize and fuse with each other to form a diploid zygote which germinate to produce the diploid fucus plant. Then the life cycle of Batrachospermum. Batrachospermum is commonly known as frog spawn. It is a red algae, but it have bluish or olive green or violet green color. Batrachospermum bhagam is associated with a snail, Planorbis planorbis. Then this Batrachospermum bears two types of branches, primary lateral or branches with limited growth and a very long branch. So Batrachospermum bears two types of branches, one with limited growth, one with unlimited and long branch growth. Then the life cycle is very peculiar and it is a triphasic life cycle. Batrachospermum bear antheridia and carpogonia. Carpogonia is the female sex organ. Antheridia produces spermacia. Carpogonia produces egg. Then both fuse to form zygote. Zygote undergo meiosis. Meiosis, after meiosis, gonimoblast filament is produced. Then from gonimoblast filament, carposporangia formed. From carposporangia, carpospores are formed. Carpospores develop to form Chantrantia stage, which again develop to form a Batrachospermum plant. It is the sexual life cycle, but asexually the Chantrantia stage can produce monosporangia. Monosporangia produces monospores which germinate again to form Chantrantia stage. Chantrantia stage again germinate and develop to form adult Batrachospermum plant. So it is the whole life cycle of Batrachospermum. And the Batrachospermum have haplobiontic life cycle. Haplontic or haplobiontic life cycle. Then the life cycle of Polysiphonia. Polysiphonia have a polysiphonous nature of thallus which consists of axial siphon surrounded by a number of pericentral siphons. Plant body consists of a decumbent portion and the upright portion. Then generally the sexual reproduction is oogamous type. Male sex organ is called spermatangia, female sex organ called carpogonia, and they produce spermacia and female gamete. They fuse together to form zygote. Then zygote germinate to produce gonimoblast initial. Then gonimoblast initial, from gonimoblast initial carposporangia. From carposporangia diploid carpospores are formed. From carpospores tetrasporophytes are formed, which are again diploid in nature. Then tetrasporangium undergoes meiosis to form tetraspores, which are haploid in nature. Always remember, carpospores are diploid in nature and tetraspores are haploid in nature. They again germinate to produce female and male plant. So it is the whole life cycle of Polysiphonia. So the life cycle of Polysiphonia is diplohaplontic or diplobiontic in nature. Okay, so it is all about your unit 1 of SSB Botany Lectureship examination syllabus. I have discussed all these things, all the things which are present in your unit 1 very briefly, but I have discussed many important points Yes, I know for any competitive examinations, practicing MCQ practice is more important, but mm, at first you have to clear the concept. You should know about basics. So these are very basic points. At first you should remember these points, then we will discuss the MCQs related to algae. Okay, so thank you. I hope you really enjoyed this session, get benefit from it, and will meet you in my next video. So thank you. Please like my videos, share with your other friends and other aspirants, and subscribe to my channel Sunanda's Tutorial. Thank you.